Okay, so I want to talk about abundance. Abundance is one of the tier 1 relics in demonic packs, and I think it is far and away the best relic of the tier 1s, and it's also just like a ridiculously good relic in its own right. It's way better than any relic we usually get in the tier 1 slot. This relic is fantastic. It's so good, and it's being people are saying like, oh, it seems pretty good. It seems like it might be on par at least with the other tier 1s. No, it's not on par with the other tier 1s. It's way better than the other tier 1s. I really disagree with the assessment that a lot of people are giving this relic. Um, even people who think this relic's pretty good, I think that's a bad assessment. I think this relic is fantastic, and it's driving me crazy watching all these videos, which I think are focusing on the wrong things, or just sort of doing a brief thing like explaining some of the good effects, but then not sort of seeming to care about how how important those effects actually are. So I just want to go through and I feel like give this relic its dues because I think this relic is really fantastic and it's not getting proper analysis. So I want to go through and really try and give proper analysis here. This is probably going to be a little bit of a rambling video. So to start, I'm just going to summarize my thoughts, and then afterwards, I'm going to actually sort of get into, sort of the numbers of it and how I came to these conclusions. But to start, my thoughts, just to give an idea of like how good I think this is, we can break this down to three effects. We've got all the non-combat skills being boosted by 10. Second is every time you receive an XP drop, gain an additional 2 XP. And third is for every XP, gain 2 times as many coins. I'm going to start with this one because I don't actually care about this one. In the summary, basically, this kind of sucks. This is not doing a whole lot for you. I'll go through the numbers later, but what you can treat this as is in the very early game, you can treat this as a 5 to 10 or 5 to 20% XP boost in all of your skills, which is actually pretty good since there are 24 skills, so 5 to 20% XP boost in all of them is pretty cool. But in the late game, and you're pretty rapidly getting to the late game, even in the mid game, what this turns into is rather than that, it's more like a 1 to 2%, usually actually more towards 1% boost to all of your skills. Um, so it's not good. Like it's not good enough to actually make like it's not like equilibrium where it like makes different training methods viable. This doesn't make any new training method viable. The 2 XP is just not big enough. And in the late game, the 2 XP is just such a small amount that it really doesn't make a huge difference in basically anything that you're doing at all. So you can basically treat this as an extra 1% experience uh, all um, in all 24 skills. So this is not good. This is not, who cares about this? This is not important. The other two effects are way more important. Okay, so this one is actually the big dog. This is the one that you should really be caring about. By far, this is the most interesting of the effects which are included here. All non-combat skills are permanently boosted by 10. We've seen something like this before, but this always gets undervalued. This is ridiculously strong. What this is doing is essentially meaning that for every skill-gated task in leagues, which is, let's be honest, in leagues, it's for the most part, that's why you're training your skills, is so that you can get to that skill-gated task. For every single skill-gated task in leagues, you now only have to get to that level minus 10. What that means experience-wise is that you only need to get 37% of the experience that you would normally need to get in order to do that task, because if we look at the experience chart here, every time we look at a level, right, and then we look at the level 10 below it, it's about 37%. So all of a sudden, you're cutting the top half and half plus another bit off of every single skill that you're training, every non-combat skill that is. It's incredible. It's such a huge time save. This doesn't really directly in a straightforward way actually boost your experience per hour. But given that now when you train to level 75, practically speaking, you've actually trained to level 85, you can sort of pretend that this is giving you like a 2 point something, I don't know, probably 2.2 times experience multiplier on every experience you gain in any non-combat skill, because every non-combat skill level you get is actually effectively the same as that level plus 10. It's it's so good. It's going to save you so much time. Um, if you're comparing this to like Barbarian Gathering, I don't know what the math is, but probably if you looked at, how much it affects the skills that it affects, it probably, maybe it for woodcutting, mining, and fishing, it might have them be like 4 times as fast with this. This is not going to be 4 times as fast for all skills, but it's like more than 2 times fast, and it's more than 2 times fast for 18 skills. Like that's so that's so much. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's such a good ability, and that's only one part of it. The other part of it, which is admittedly a little smaller, but training is actually quite a bit faster when your skills are boosted by 10. Essentially, what this is going to do is this is going to unlock faster skilling methods for you, and this is also going to, when you're doing something like fishing, where each action has a chance to succeed or fail, it's also going to make you more likely to succeed. I'll go through the numbers later, but as for, a general idea, essentially, like, you can basically view this as also increasing the experience you're gaining on all of your non-combat skills by about 10% whenever you're training them. It's probably more, to be honest, but just, as a realistic sort of lowball estimate, we could say 10% boost. Okay, so that's what that is. And then finally, we get for every XP gain, we get twice as many coins. So this, again, is ridiculously good. What this is this is essentially exactly as good as the money generating in Golden God, except the only thing that it doesn't do is that it doesn't give you such a ridiculous amount of money that you can do the construction methods where you're training using things that cost like 10 mil, right? Like, you're not going to have enough money to do that, but for every other use case you need money, you will have enough money to do that thing by the time that you unlock the thing. Like, every time you want to buy something, you will already have enough money to buy it. You will never, ever, ever need to think about money in this leagues if you choose this. You will always, always have enough money. There's a reason this is called abundance. Money is going to be in abundance. You are never going to be like, oh, maybe I need to go train a little bit, get a little more experience before I can buy this. By the time you unlock something, you will always have enough money to buy as many of it as you need. Always. Except for that crazy construction stuff. So this is just as good as the money generation in Golden God. If you were excited about the money generation in Golden God, you should be excited about this. The construction thing is a downside. That was a great part of Golden God, but that wasn't ultimately the entire Golden God. And this is everything but the construction. This is just as good. The only thing it also doesn't solve, it doesn't solve prayer like Golden God did. One, doesn't really matter. We're in Varlamore, we have bone shards, we're going to have good ways to train prayer, and additionally, prayer also gets an additional experience multiplier because of leagues, because it's a combat skill. Magic, it solves magic too, but who cares? Like, okay, let's do AFK magic. You can already AFK magic. Like, just go to crab. Solving magic is nothing. Magic is already solved. So, this is basically like as good as Golden God minus construction. This one effect, not this whole relic, this single effect. So if you combine all of this, like all of these, like the reason I think this is so ridiculously good is this is cutting the top half of every skill off. Essentially, like, you can pretend that you're training every skill more than twice as fast, and you also get an additional 10% experience boost in every skill. This is giving you an additional 1% experience boost in every skill, and this is the money generation from Golden God. If you combine all those, it's one of the best relics we've ever seen. It's a ridiculously good relic. So that's the summary. Don't underrate it. I know I already rambled a little bit, but now I'm going to sort of like go on and go through the individual pieces and actually go through the math for each piece to sort of talk about, why I think the things that I think. So if you're interested in the math, if you don't believe me, keep watching. All right. Okay, so the first thing I quickly want to talk about is why this doesn't matter. Every time you receive an XP drop, gain an additional 2 XP. So in order to evaluate this, we can sort of just treat this as, we can sort of just like look at XP drops and look at how much of a percentage an additional 2 XP would make, and then we can sort of be like, okay, well, this is then how much of an experience boost that's actually giving us. So if we look right at the very, very beginning of the game, because that's when this is going to be somewhat kind of noticeable, we can see how big the experience drops are here, right? So if we go like, I don't know, let's go to shrimps. When you cook a shrimp, it gets 30 experience. When you fish a shrimp, it gets 10. When you cut a log, it gets 25. When you cook a log, it gives you 4. When you burn a log, it gives you 40, right? So For the most part, for early game XP drops, what you're going to see is they tend to be in between 10 XP and 40 XP at the very, very start of the game. If you add an additional 2 to this, what that's going to end up being is it's going to be an additional 5% to an additional 20% of XP on each action, which is actually pretty good given that it's affecting 24 skills, right? So at the very, very, very early game, you can kind of be like, okay, I'm getting an extra, 20%, 5%, whatever, experience in every skill. That's actually pretty good. But what makes this actually pretty useful is this is only really gonna, impact you substantially for like the first, I don't know, hour or two of the time you're playing, because when you start to unlock higher level methods, you're going to get more XP per drop, and this 2 XP is going to become much, much, much more negligible. It doesn't matter that it's getting multiplied by the League's XP multiplier, it just isn't big enough to matter. So if we look at Redwood logs, right? Just for an example of like when you're really in the late game to show how little this matters, this yields 380 experience per log. 382 versus 380, you're not noticing that. That's like 0.5%. Same with burning them. This gives you 350. If you're looking at anglerfish, each catch is 120 fishing experience. Cooking an anglerfish, where is that? I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's somewhere on here. Oh yeah, 230 experience for cooking this. So you're getting like an extra like 2-ish% here, you're getting an extra 1% here. What you're gonna see is when you look at like late game activities, you're pretty rapidly getting up to activities which give you like an extra, they're giving you like 100 to 200, sometimes up to 400 experience per drop. When you're doing those, all of a sudden this 2 XP really doesn't matter. You're getting like an extra maybe 1% per drop, maybe 2% per drop, but realistically probably closer to 1%. And given that in RuneScape, the higher levels take up a much bigger portion of training time, you're really, really going to be at the point where this is giving you like a 1% boost for a lot longer than this is giving like a 5 to 20% boost in each skill. So therefore, that's why I think that you should evaluate this as though it's essentially giving you a 1% XP boost in every single skill. Non-combat skill, that is, sorry. Okay, now I want to talk about the actual good abilities. So, we're going to talk about this one. This is the one that I'm really, really excited by. So, as I mentioned, what this is going to do, for leagues, by far the main reason to train your skills is so that, on this task list, where not every skill, but like a ton of these tasks have a level associated with them, now the level you need to do every single one, not every one of these, there are probably some that you can't boost, but almost every one of these, now you only need that level -10. So below 100 light orbs, right? 87 crafting, now it's 77. This is now 65 construction. We go down to the really good tasks, right? We go down to the 200s, not the 99s, you can't do those. But like make a super combat potion, now that's 80 herb lore. Fletch 100 dragon javelins, now that's 82 fletching. Now this is 65 crafting, right? All of these, which previously required this amount of levels, which might be the main reason you're training crafting, wood cutting, etc., etc., now you only need that level -10. If you are not training a skill to 99, that means you can now stop training that skill 10 levels earlier. If you were stopping training that skill 10 levels earlier, rather than training until 700k experience, you were training until 270k experience. Rather than training until, 9 mil experience, you are training to 3 mil experience. It is a huge difference. It's cutting 60% off of every skill because you only need to train to 40% of what you would usually need to train for to do the same tasks. If you were only training that skill to a certain level to do a task, that is saving you more than half of the experience that you would train in that skill. Functionally, you can view that as giving you an over 2 times experience boost in every single skill that you are not immediately trying to get 99 on. It is so good. It's huge. 2 times the experience on, again, over 2 times. I'm underestimating things here just so people don't think I'm trying to blow this out of proportion. But if we see 2 times experience on 18 skills, that's like as though you were training one skill, to do what I did with this one. That's like as if you were training one skill like 36 times as fast. It's so good. um, it's ridiculous. Uh, oh wait, no, maybe it would be 18 times as fast. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's huge. It's fucking massive. It's so good. It's ridiculous. Okay, so that's that part of it. And then I also mentioned that what this also does is it also functionally increases your XP per hour. And let me show you how that is. For one, this is going to increase your XP per hour because you are going to much more rapidly unlock higher level skilling methods, which you would usually only be able to do if you had 10 higher levels. For example, you'll unlock teaks earlier, you'll unlock harm bonds earlier, stuff like that. But the other thing is that for all of these actions you're actually doing, a lot of them do directly scale experience rates with the level that you are. So if we actually go to, for example, we look at like woodcutting training, right? Or this is, let's look at fishing first. Look at fishing training. This is fishing carbons, right? If we look at the experience per hour for fishing carbons, every time you're going up 10 levels, you are gaining an extra about 10% of the experience. So this is a 10% gain. This is a 10% gain over 80. This is a little less than a 10% gain over 90, right? So that's that. Let's look at teaks. Okay, we look at teaks. We go down to without take manipulation, right? This is 10%. This is way more than 10% from 50. This is substantially more than 10% from 60. Again, this is 10%. This is about 10%, and then this is a little less than 10%. So you're always getting an extra 10% per 10 levels, right? Same with thieving. We go look at Knights of Arty. Again, these are actually giving you way more. This is like 25% per 10 levels. So this compared to now you're going to get this rate instead. This compared to now you're getting this rate instead, right? You're always getting at least at a minimum an extra 10% experience per 10 levels that you get. And since you're 10 levels higher, when you're level 70, you're going to be getting this experience rate instead, which is way better. So anytime you're training anything, not anything, but like most things in the game, you are going to be getting these higher experience rates instead. So this is also just, in addition to letting you do your tasks earlier, this is also actually boosting the experience you're getting in your tasks, just not in a way that's quite as obvious. Let's look at Guardians of the Rift also, right? Because this is something different. Runecrafting isn't something where you're doing stuff that has like, a chance to succeed. So maybe you would think runecrafting is not as effective. No, wrong. This is also very effective, right? Compare what you're getting at level like 40 to 50 to 50 to 75. It's like, it's so much higher. And then, this is another, like 20% boost over this. This is another like, I don't know, like basically 20% boost over this too. Or like 25%. It's huge. It's huge. So you're getting, like, not only are you getting to do all of your stuff way earlier, you are also going to get a really, really substantially boosted experience rate in all of the skills you're training by virtue of those skills being 10 higher. It's really, really good for training scaling. It's so good because this is affecting 18 skills. Like, it's huge, man. It's actually really, really big. So this effect is ridiculous. This effect by itself would definitely be strong enough to make this the strongest tier 1 relic. Maybe the strongest tier 1 relic we've gotten, like in any league. That's how strong this is. Don't underrate this. I know this isn't an exciting effect, but this is such a good effect. It's such a good effect. Okay, anyway, so that's that. Okay, last, I want to talk about this ability. For every experience you gain twice as many coins. What my claim is that this is essentially just giving you infinite money because anything you need to spend money on, you are already always going to have enough money to do that thing by the time you get there. And almost anything you spend money on, when you're actually processing that thing or using that thing you spent money on, you're going to make more money than you spent on it. So this is basically the case except for like pretty much almost anything. The only thing this doesn't apply to is for those really, really ridiculous construction methods that use supplies that cost like 10 mil each, right? This isn't going to work for that. But everything else, you are always, no matter what point you are in the game, you're always going to have enough money to do what you need to do. So for example, let's say in the early game, what might you need money for in leagues? Maybe you get 40 mining, you need like a rune pickaxe, right? So let's say we have 40 mining. 40 mining, we have about 40k experience. We double this, we now have 80k coins. 80k coins, more than enough to buy a rune pickaxe. Same with wood cutting. By the time we get wood cutting, we'll have another 80k coins, more than enough to buy a rune hatchet. Some people might be like, okay, well, when I get 60 combats, how am I going to afford, all of my equipment that I need to train with? Like, how am I going to afford my dragon stuff? By the time you have 60 attack to wield dragon stuff, you are going to have about 300k experience. If you double that, you're going to have 600k coins at least, because that's not considering strength and defense and hit points and all the other skills you're training. You're going to have at least 600k coins. That's enough to buy your weapons. That's enough to buy all of your armor, right? This is going to be a consistent theme every time you ever need money to buy anything. By getting to that point, you're going to have that money you need. You will basically just be able to play this game pretending that money doesn't exist, because no matter what you're doing, you'll always already have enough money to do it. Let's say you want to go like train magic doing barrages, right? Where am I? Okay, so if you're training magic doing barrages, how much does a barrage cost? Barrage costs, I don't know. Let's use this. We'll say it's, 1,300. We can even say it's higher than that. Well, let's, for example, say it's 1,300. How much experience do you get per barrage? You're getting 52 base. Given that you're probably barraging a group of enemies, you're probably going to end up getting at least 100 per barrage. Say you are at let's just average it out. Let's say you're at a 10x experience multiplier. That 100 experience you're getting per barrage turns into 1,000. With the doubling effect, then you get 2,000 coins per barrage. All of a sudden, now instead of your barrages costing money, every single barrage you get is just going to generate you more money than it cost. So you have infinite money for barrages. Barrages actually turn into something that create money. What's another thing you could spend money on when you're training in leagues? You might be like, okay, well, I want to buy broad bolts and, fletch them, right? So maybe I want to buy a broad bolt pack. I want to buy 100 broad bolts for 6k. Okay, so per 10 bolts, you're getting 30 XP. So per 100 bolts in the pack, you're getting 300 XP. Let's say, again, you're at a 10x multiplier. That's now 3,000 experience. When you double that, you're now getting 6,000 coins, which is exactly how much it costs to buy the bolts in experience. So this doesn't cost money anymore. This generates you exactly as much money as it costs just by the action of putting the feathers on the bolts. So this is just the case for everything you're going to be training in the entire leagues. No matter what, you will always, 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 always have all of the money to buy whatever you want. You never need to worry about it. And for that reason, this effect is just as good as Golden God's money generating effect is outside of construction. Because yes, the cash stack isn't going to look quite as beautiful in your inventory. You're not going to have a max cash stack, but your cash stack will grow at exactly the rate you need it to buy every single thing you ever need. You literally click on this and then you forget money exists in this game. You click on this and it's basically like you just purchased Fire Sale. Like all of a sudden you can buy infinite things all the time without worrying about it at all. It's so good. It's so good. The other thing that's worth noting here is that money generating relics typically are really popular, and they typically go against really, really strong relics. So if we look back at like Golden God went up against Reloaded. Reloaded literally let you choose any relic that you wanted out of the first three tiers. So obviously that's pretty strong. If we look back at Fire Sale, which is another money relic, that went up against Banker's Note. So all of these huge money generating relics, these always go up against very, very valuable relics. I would kind of be surprised if we don't end up seeing another money generating relic somewhere later down the line. I'd kind of be surprised if, they force you into a tier 1 relic if you want to generate money. And what that means is that if you choose this, you already have your money solved. So later on in the relic choices, when they, reveal another relic which generates money, all of a sudden, you don't even have to think about that. You just get to choose whatever good thing it's up against because you already have your money solved. Again, the only downside at this is that this doesn't solve construction, which does kind of suck. But it still does help with construction. Because again, you're still going to be generating like a ton of money. You're going to have a lot. Let's say you choose like a farming relic and you can get 99 farming in like an hour. All of a sudden, that's 13 mil farming experience. You just gain 26 mil cash. So you're still getting enough to do a lot of really expensive methods, and you're not just gonna have 199. You're gonna like this is gonna be the case for a lot of skills. So it's really good. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to talk about. That's why I feel like this relic is so ridiculously good. I really don't want people to keep underrating it. I really, you don't have to choose it. You should choose the relic you're gonna have the most fun with. Ultimately, the goal of leagues is to have fun. It's not to, be the best unless you're really racing. But if you're racing, you probably don't need this video anyway. Let's be real. So the point of the leagues is to have fun. But I just don't want people to get buyer's remorse. I don't want people to be like, oh, I chose this relic, but I only chose it because I didn't realize how strong this other relic was. So I really want people to really understand how strong this relic is, so that if you choose another relic, you don't end up with buyer's remorse later. This doesn't mean that you should absolutely choose this relic. Choose what you're going to have the most fun with. I will probably choose this, but there's a chance I don't because, Barbarian Gathering does seem really fun. So maybe I'll just end up wanting to do that for fun anyway. So, you know, this isn't to necessarily say you have to choose this, but please just realize how crazily strong this is. This is a really, really, really strong relic, and people need to give it more respect. Yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I know this is a little rambly, but hopefully it was interesting. It's my first time really making a YouTube video, so it's been fun. Yeah, I like doing this sort of analysis, so if people enjoy it, if you have any other relics that you would like some input on, feel free to let me know in the comments. If I see another relic where the discussion online is really annoying me, like this one was, maybe I'll make a video like this again. Okay, thanks everybody, and have a good one. Bye.